You ready?
Yes.
Good afternoon. It is 3:30. Time we call the Muskegon County Boards of Commissioners Community Development Strategic Planning Committee meeting to order with the roll call, Madam Clerk.
Here.
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 Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. And we have a quorum. Next up is approval of the minutes for February 13th, 2020.
Support.
It's been moved by Commissioner Foster and supported by Commissioner Hughes. Any questions or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor use the vote of saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, and that motion passes. Next up is public comment on an agenda item. Is there anyone in the public that would like to have a comment on an agenda item? Seeing no one coming forth, next up we have a presentation of the Fair Board, and representative coming forward, you can state your name. And
I'm Brian McFerrin. I'm the treasurer of the Fair Board. I was asked to come to the committee and present we have two reports that are due in the springtime here, and one is a proposed calendar of events for the fairgrounds for the summer, and the second is a report that identifies improvements we made at the fairgrounds over the last year and improvements we're anticipating or maybe hoping to make in the upcoming year. That list is always a little more aggressive than we probably ever obtained, but we shoot for the stars sometimes on that one. So we'll flip through some of this for you. The calendar of events is getting longer by year. So hopefully, I'm not going to read them all to you, but as I flip through these, I'll just highlight some of the activities. And probably the first one I want to talk about is on April 27th. This is a new event for us, or activity, in conjunction with the Health Department, MSU Extension Office, and I got everybody, Commissioner Luring, and the Fair Board. We're working on a artisan farmers market that will be held weekly, each Monday, beginning the last Monday of April through at least Labor Day. And there's a committee that's working on that, and we're hoping for very good things, and really like to see how it goes. April and May will be working the kinks out of it, and we're hoping by Memorial Weekend to really kick things off and have a very active event on a month or weekly basis at the fairgrounds on Monday. So that's new this year.
What time would that be?
I believe it's ballpark noon to 5 is the time frame of it. Then beginning in May, things start to kick off pretty quickly. We have a Hero Mud Run. SJO Motocross starts, and we usually have a couple races a month there. The Horse Committee, you'll see something on here called Open Horse Arena Night. The Horse Committee started this a couple years ago, where they open the horse arena every Thursday night from May through September to give 4-H members more opportunities to ride their horses and do training exercises. And so that's been very successful, and the Horse Committee is continuing to do that.
Is there a charge for that?
I do not believe there is, but don't hold me to that.
Okay.
When it comes to the horse side of it, I'm not very involved in that piece of it.
Okay.
What about times?
That is a Thursday evening event from like 6 to 9.
Brian, will you send us
Could
this
you
calendar?
put the
of
times
events?
on the calendar so that if we want to go, we can?
They are on the fair website,
Okay.
the calendar, the times are on there.
Is that on our the county website? Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
you can just go to the fair. Okay.
Yep. More of May. In June, the big event there is the Antique Tractor and Engine Show. That's a 3-day event put on by a third party, and they do a really nice job. As you can see, we're getting close to between 15 and 20 events per month at the fairgrounds during the May to September timeframe. July is Fair Week, the last full week of July, and I'm not sure we have anything necessarily big and new this year, but it is a very full event for Fair Week, and we're hoping that the coronavirus is done and gone before we get there.
We hope so too. What is ranch sorting?
Ranch sorting, that is, you have 2 pens of cattle, or I should say 1 pen of cattle and an empty pen, and they release the cattle, and participants on horseback have to sort through them, and the cattle have numbers on them, and you have to sort them and put them in the other pen in the right order.
I see.
And you have to do it with a teammate or 2 teammates.
Oh, so it's a competition.
It's a competition.
Thank you.
Another new event this year, it's in the very early stages. No guarantees it's going to happen yet, but a group called Ski Town Jeep Club, and there's 2 Jeep clubs that are looking to have a overnight activity, and it'll be a fundraiser for 2 nonprofit organizations where we've met with them once, enough to get a date on the calendar, and they're coming back to us with what a proposal is going to look like. So I don't really have a lot of details for you on that one.
That's not going to be something that they tear up the ground with, is it?
That's not the plan, no.
Okay, it's just more of a show off your Jeep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing new there. Labor Day weekend, we have the Friends of Muskegon Trail is looking to potentially do an event Labor Day weekend using the fairgrounds as a staging point for a bicycle event using the Muskegon Trail. And we kind of wrap up with the Sportsman's for Youth Day, which is the Saturday after Labor Day, which is always a very well-attended event. Usually in the ballpark of 4,000 to 5,000 people show up that day. So that takes care of the calendar of events. Any questions?
Looks very aggressive. Looks like there's something for everybody.
Yes.
There.
Now we'll go into our projects that we completed last year. The volume wasn't there, but the scope was there last year. We re-roofed 4 of the barns, the beef barn, which is the largest barn, and we re-roofed 3 of the 5 horse barns. Just to give you a little bit of scope, the beef barn currently is housing 36 travel trailers for winter storage. So very large building, and that was one of the 4 barns that we were able to get re-roofed. And so we want to thank the commissioners because it was a combination of successfully obtaining a Michigan Department of Ag and Rural Development grant, fairgrounds funds, and some matching funds from the county. So we want to thank you for that. Some of the other projects we completed, updated some of the bleachers, at least some of the boards that were needing replacement, ventilation improvements for 2 of the barns to keep the heat down during Fair Week for those animals, working on a project to relamp lighting with LED lighting. We wrapped up a 2-year project where we were cleaning the brush, trees, and vines out of the chain link fences, and we replaced a significant section of split rail fence in the west campground area. So that is the major projects we did in 2019. For this upcoming year, one of the 4-H or the livestock committee wants to add a duck pond. So that'll be currently they bury little small swimming pools for Fair Week, and the ducks like that, but they're a little more ambitious this year, and they want to see a larger duck pond, and that'll be interesting to see how that turns out. The There's a section of fence that we want to replace by the show arena. The garage door on the fair office needs replacement. Grandstand painting. We have an Eagle Scout who would like to take on a project of potentially painting the 5 horse barns. He wouldn't do that by himself, but he'd be raising the money, bringing a bunch of his scout friends and painting the barns. So we're looking forward to that project. The ventilation improvements we did, we have a little bit more to go on those. And we have some more LED lighting projects that we're working on. I would say this slide is our most likely to be done slide. Then the next slides are the ones that are a little bit bigger, require a little bit more money, and they're a little bit more dependent on fundraising and getting all our ducks in a row. So there's an area on the site plan for the fairgrounds that we want to get cleared up and seed it to grass for additional parking. The bathroom and the horse announcers booth, there was a new horse arena announcers booth that was built in 2018. The horse committee has, I think, got the fundraising in place to finish the bathroom in that announcers booth. And so they'll be very happy if they can get that done. We want to update the grandstand PA system. The horse committee wants to add a new picture wall for taking pictures. And that one will be done with brick. And we want to bring in some additional aggregate for a couple of the driveways.
Brian, I don't see anything on there about painting or staining the barns, and they're not holding up very well without some kind of something on them. It seems like they're not being,
That's one of the projects on here on the previous slide is painting the horse
okay.
barns.
All right, yeah, because they need that really bad.
And then,
You collect rental for the trailer storage?
yes, we do. That's currently our largest source of revenue. And that's where the funds that we put towards the roofing project are coming from.
Do you have more space in there that you could lease out?
We had room for only about 3 small boats left this year. Otherwise, we
okay.
were at capacity.
Oh, that's really good.
We had 145 items in storage this year.
Wow, that's a lot. Great.
So then our wish list, I guess we'll say, for this year, a couple more roofs really needs to be done. So those are on our list. The horse arenas, we would like to add lighting to one of the horse arenas and potentially add water to the south campground sites to make those even more user-friendly. Any? Commissioner Laring?
It's not about the plan, but where are we at with online payments? Has that been resolved?
That's resolved and working.
Okay, good.
Any other questions?
I think I have a question on online payments. Are you taking online payments through the county?
Mr. Phillips helped them set it up.
That's not my question.
Well, we're not collecting the payment per se, but they're going through our website to get to their website to do online.
Okay, all
Correct.
right.
So they're going,
So
We have
'cause
a
none
link-
of the money comes back to the county.
Correct.
So I just
Correct.
wanted to make sure that we weren't
Yeah.
spending a lot of time doing that. Okay.
We share a link.
Okay.
anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we'll go into items for consideration. We have one item here, CDSP 2003-02. Approve the Parks Department purchase of a new 2020 3/4 ton 4x4 6.6 liter gas pickup truck cab and chassis only with Parks Department funds.
So moved. Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Questions? Commissioner Hubby-Wright.
Yes, according to this, they're only going to be buying, or they want to buy a cab and chassis only. But in the paragraph above on this sheet, it says that in addition, there are rusting brake lines, transmissions issues, and well, the body issues would be taken care of. But it seems weird that it would only be the cab and chassis if other things are problematic and well.
Bob Lukens, Community Development Director. That's the truck that we have now with the blown engine. the brake lines and the transmission are going on that too, or if not gone, they're rusting out.
Was that the truck that's being replaced
Yes,
by only a
By a-
chassis and a cab?
yes, we have a bed for that. That is a mechanic's bed, so it has a number of different kind of shelving units that are lockable. There's also a compressor in the back of it, so air tools can be used for maintenance purposes. And then it'll have a hitch on the front of it for plowing too.
So, and I also noticed there's no amount. You're asking us to approve.
Yes,
With-
those amounts vary, but the cost of it will be approximately $25,000. It depends on the MI deal cooperative pricing, but we'll go by that pricing. You usually get a better deal through the state's purchasing program.
And I have a
So
question
you're
too.
guessing it'll be about 25,000.
That's the idea, yes.
I told one of the guys at Norton Shores told me that my deal is not always the cheapest, especially when you're buying a vehicle. Have you checked anywhere else?
Could be, I'm not aware of that.
Might
but
be worth
could.
checking.
Mhm.
And another thing, we discussed the other day when we were out at the fairgrounds that the money is not there right now for the new bathhouse. Is it if you spend this $20,000, $22,000 now? Is that going to come right out of the money that you would need to do the new bathhouse?
That would come out of the reserve.
Uh-huh.
So there is a reserve in the parks fund, and that's about 500. Last I heard, it was $517,000 in that fund. So it would come out of that fund for this purchase. If we do proceed with the bathhouse, if the board votes on that, we would ask for a loan for that, for a good portion of that bathhouse.
From where would
money.
you get your loan?
That is yet to be determined.
Oh,
but,
okay. Okay.
We would work with the county
Okay.
to secure that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I just
Commissioner Scully.
Bob, when we buy trucks, are they always the same color?
That's a good question. I think they vary in color. Out at the airport, for instance, we use yellow trucks because they're very visible on the airfield. And at the parks, I don't know if they're green. I think we have a blue one too.
I think so too. I think so.
They're
yeah.
earthy colors, I guess
Right.
you could say.
The guy at Moore Park has got a green one.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we're not getting yellow trucks for the parks. I don't think they
Just
more
the-
blend with
The
nature.
reason I mentioned that was because I know when I was involved with the city council of Norton Shores, they always bought this, you could tell their trucks, they were all the same.
Mhm.
I don't care what color it is, but I mean, it's
I can
just
get that
wondering
answer
how
for you.
important.
They have our stickers on them that say Muskegon.
They
County
do.
Parks.
You know,
Yes.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor use the vote saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
One opposition. That motion passes. Next up, we'll move into old business. At this time, we have our CFO, Beth Dick, who wants to follow up on a question that was asked in our previous meeting.
Mr. Chair, does she have a new title now?
Here, I'll pass those for you and start explaining.
CFO?
She does right now.
Round. I think I had a few extra. Wasn't sure if the clerk would be here. Beth Dick, Director of Finance. Yes, my understanding is at Tuesday's full board meeting, a question was asked, and I had unfortunately left the meeting. I had a conference call at 4:30, so I was not here to answer that question at the time. And turns out I didn't have all the information anyway, so I was able to compile the answer to the question, which I believe Commissioner Mahoney asked with regard to our MERS investments and how they're faring with the market fluctuations that are going on. So I've put together some information on a graph here that shows the MERS investments through December 31st of 2019. We receive quarterly reports from MERS. So we will get a new quarterly report after the quarter of March 31st ends. We'll get it in about mid-April. But I did provide you with the information that shows the trend of those, the market value of those assets for our defined benefit pension plan based on the December 31st years going back to 2014. So you can see how our investments have fared. I do point out that in 2018 was the year that we did the pension bonds, and we also did a lump sum contribution from the wastewater fund of 6.9 million, and the bonds were a little under 43 million. Those were deposited with MERS just at the very tail end of 2018. So those were part of the reason why that shows an increase there. And then as of December 31st, 2019, the market value is up to 220.1 million. What I did find out from MERS through conversations with them over the last couple days in terms of what's happened since December 31st, and they could only give me through the end of February, so I don't have any information as of like today or through March. But what they did tell me that the MERS portfolio as a total, which the county is part of, I put under my note 1 there that through February 29th, the MERS portfolio is down negative 4.69% from what it was as of the end of December. Compared to other similar portfolios, those are down a negative 4.91%, so we're faring better than other similar portfolios. And the S&P 500 is down negative 8.27%, so that's pointing out that MERS portfolio is doing better than other similar portfolios and the S&P 500. The other thing that I did get in an email from MERS is that their investment strategy is long-term, and the MERS portfolio allocations are designed to better weather the ups and downs of the market as is being experienced. When the market does really well, the MERS returns might not be as high as others, but when the market is down, the MERS returns are not as low as others. So that was a statement I received from them. And then I will also point out that in my note 2, that as of 12/31/18, we get an actuarial valuation after every December. So we won't receive our December 31/19 valuation until about May or June. But as of the last actuarial valuation, our defined benefit actuarial accrued liability was 87% funded. And then as a third note on here, it really doesn't have to do with pension, but OPEB, which is other post-employment benefits, which is retiree medical insurance for our retirees. That is a separate plan. We also hold those assets with MERS, and I didn't have time to put that graph together, but that liability is actually 100.3% funded. So we have funded for our OPEB liability. 103.3. We're over. What did I say? Did I say
100.3.
Oh, 103.3. So we're over 100% funded on our OPEB liability.
That's great. You've done a great job there.
Any questions on that information?
Maybe you said you didn't know that OPEB
Yes.
that fund. How much is in that? Maybe
The liability as of the end of September 30, 2019 was 42.3 million, and we've got assets in there of 54 million. So we're overfunded. We have more assets in that plan than we have liability. And that's due to a lot of the changes that have occurred that the board has been involved in approving. We changed our vendor for Medicare Advantage, and that ended up saving a lot of money in terms of what was having to be paid. It reduced the liability in that fund. So that was a significant change, plus some of the changes in the recent union contract negotiations where any new retirees as of January 1, 2019, they were offered the HSA plan as opposed to a more expensive plan that had previously been available to them. So those changes have drastically improved. Our liability has come down and our funding has gone substantially up.
Great.
And as soon as the March quarter report is available, I will let you know. Hopefully things will flip the other way before the end of March.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old business? Anyone have any new business? Commissioner Larry.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we activate the emergency response manager response system and limit social gatherings to 250 people.
I will support that for discussion.
It's been moved and supported.
So what we've got in Muskegon County right now, I think probably everybody knows that Muskegon Community College is shut down. They went completely online. But we do have individuals in the county that are returning from countries that have been infected by the coronavirus, and they have been requested to quarantine, and they are not quarantining. They are not self-quarantining, and this would give the authority to the emergency response management team to actually enforce these quarantines on these individuals that are coming back from foreign countries. And the only way we're going to limit this in the county is if that we operate out in front of it. Once it's into the county, right now we have no active cases, but unless we get in front of this, we're going to have a lot of numbers. There are 2 cases in Ottawa County right now from Hope College. They have been tested. The first test results came back inconclusive. They weren't negative, but the testing was wrong, and now those results have been sent to the CDC for a second round of testing, but it's presumptive that they do have coronavirus. This would actually give the health department the authority to actually make them, these people that are returning from infected countries, make them self-quarantine and have the authority to enforce it.
Commissioner Mahoney.
The next question is, of course, not just the folks that are coming back from a foreign country, but the folks that are here that are infecting other people that have the coronavirus, not necessarily from a foreign country, but because they have contacted somebody in the country somehow and developed a case. I'm not sure what the governor has done in terms of the emergency management situation. Have they imposed a statewide ban? I mean, she declared an emergency. What that means, I'm not sure.
Yeah, the part that I read on that is that she encourages anything over 100 be rescheduled, but it was not
Not
mandated.
250?
It was recommendation.
I would accept that amendment to
So
it.
it's not, yeah, it's not me.
No,
Commissioner Wilkins.
Well, the next question then becomes the public schools.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this going to be county-wide, or are we just talking our own departments?
It would give our health department the ability to work with the sheriff's department and the emergency management system to actually enforce some of these quarantines. So initially my thought was some of the other counties are doing a 500, and I didn't think that would pass this board, but I would actually prefer it to be less than 250. So a limit social gatherings to 100 would be wonderful. I think that we need to be proactive at stopping this from getting into the county or it's spreading into the county. There are people, so I'm sorry, you didn't call me, Commissioner Nash. Can I continue?
Go right ahead.
So there are people that I know of that have been recommended that and I actually know these people personally. They're not in Muskegon County, but have returned from foreign countries that are infected. They come back, they are ill, and they will not quarantine. Some of these individuals have actually went down and they went to the med center, did not tell the med center of their travel, and got antibiotics and told them that they felt like they had pneumonia. And because the symptoms seemed to mirror pneumonia, they're out and about that this could spread. So this is this would give our health department more authority to be able to act more preemptive to stop some of this from coming into our county.
Commissioner Wilkins.
How will that work, to enforce that? Who, the health department would notify the police department, or?
So our health department tracks people that are returning from countries that have restricted travel, and they can track these through the epidemiologists can track them, but they can request that they self-quarantine, but if they refuse to self-quarantine, she has no authority to force a quarantine on them.
Commissioner Hubby Wright.
Yes. Tell me more about the emergency
I'll defer that question to Commissioner Hughes because so the board doesn't have the power to force her to do that. But my thought is, so you asked me the question, so I'll continue. If this board voted unanimously to do it, it would take some of the pressure off of Commissioner Hughes to act individually. And so if we came to an agreement, it would give some political cover to our Commissioner Hughes that she might, if a board decided to do it, she might be more willing to do it. I'm not suggesting the board has the authority to make her do it. She'll have to make her own call.
But my question was about what consists of the emergency management team? Who is it? What do
Rich
they do?
Warner is the head of our emergency management, so he would be involved in that. On our emergency management team sits a representative from the police departments, the Homeland Security, all of our fire, and places like that. This is a real serious thing, and the courts themselves have some questions. And tomorrow we actually have a meeting tomorrow morning to discuss with the courts and with the sheriff, the jail, the courts, and everything. So I would I guess I would welcome a recommendation from you, but allow us to wait until after we discuss with the courts because they're asking some questions today from the state and their recommendations. But we do realize that this is a very serious
It is a very
situation,
serious.
and we are going to have to do something.
Yeah. What I'm hearing on the radio from various groups, the number is 250, not 100, and I would be much more comfortable with that number now. We may change it if we get, it becomes more evident of active cases here. But also, I think the issue is really the more serious thing is having enough testing kits. And when I asked the question Tuesday, it didn't seem like the number was enough to.
But the testing kits are not required to do the test. The test kits, somebody I think said this is a great deal to do is make kits, but the emergency rooms and the health department can test without a kit. They have all the equipment there to test. It does not require a kit to be tested.
And what about sending the
they have
swabs or whatever into
hold on, because we're
CDC or
kind of
wherever?
getting into back and forth.
Yeah,
Commissioner Skolnick wanted to respond.
One of the reasons I supported Commissioner Laring's motion was for discussion, which we're having. I'm uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable maybe doing this if I had more information, but to bring this up and ask us to do something, this is pretty dramatic, and I know it's a disease or outbreak that we're having. But what I'm inclined to make a motion to table it so we can come back as soon as possible. We could have a special meeting, but with some input from the emergency manager, the sheriff, the director of the health department. I don't know what all the facts are. I don't know what we can do, what we can't do.
And we plan to meet with all of those people tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Bob.
That's what I was going to say, Mr. Chairman. Tomorrow morning at 7:30, the administrator has already taken this action. He's already pulled everybody together. So we would have more information tomorrow by 10 a.m.
We could have our special meeting next Tuesday unless you want it sooner.
I think that's
Monday.
fine. Yeah.
Or Tuesday.
We don't have a meeting on Tuesday.
I know we have to call special.
Okay.
But that would,
How many days do we need for that?
The ammunition.
18 hours.
Right. We can't.
Okay.
You gave me direction today to hold a special for.
I think that would be more proper to have a motion for that special meeting, and I think that'd be a better place so we can sit down and discuss all the different issues, so we can really think through this instead of just doing something on the spur of the moment. Because we do need to understand everything that this entails and whose roles are what, and how we can really get a hold on this thing if there's need.
But there's a motion.
Commissioner Lane, would
There's a
you be
motion.
comfortable moving that to next week, Tuesday?
I will. I'm not sure the verbiage just slipped my mind.
Yeah.
Pull my motion if. So you're going to meet tomorrow?
Yeah, the directors meeting at 7:30 tomorrow morning to talk about this very issue.
And we have people contacting the state and different areas to find out what their recommendations are.
And by what time do you think you'll have a recommendation?
Assuming there's no research further needed from Kathy or Rich Warner, we could have something by 10.
So if that you can schedule the emergency meeting for Friday, I'll pull my motion.
Tomorrow is Friday, though.
That's what I
Tomorrow is
mean. So
Friday. No, we need 18 hours.
We have to have 18 hours to post it.
but we have 24 right now. So
Yeah,
if we
4
make the
o'clock.
meeting,
Could everybody be here tomorrow if we needed to?
What time?
And that depends on the timing.
We'll make time.
Mr. Chair, I'm fine with that if that's enough time to get all the information that you need. I mean,
We would have more than we have right now, Bob.
okay, yeah, we would, but
Well, and
Commissioner Hubby, right?
yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing, I've been listening to the news all day, and what I'm hearing the most is our hospitals aren't prepared. We don't have ventilators. We don't have enough ICUs, but most of all, we don't have enough testing equipment or testing capability, and that I think needs to be focus as well.
so is that agreeable by 4
Yes,
p.m.
yeah,
tomorrow?
I can have it ready. I just need to make sure we have a quorum tomorrow. We need to make sure enough commissioners can make tomorrow at, let's say 4.
4 or 3:30.
4?
We have to do 4, wouldn't we?
Well, 18
Yes, sir.
hours.
Okay.
24 hours is 18.
We'll make it work, I guess. 4 o'clock. Is that what we want to do?
Yes.
So
fine.
there's
Okay.
that's a amendment, correct?
Well, I'll pull my motion if we'll have the meeting tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
and I'll withdraw my
So we're
support.
requesting a special full board meeting tomorrow at 4 o'clock to discuss any actions required based on the coronavirus.
Okay, I'll pull my motion then. Thank you.
Thank you.
So do we need to make that a formal motion?
I think we do. Yes.
You want to make that motion, Commissioner?
Special.
I
Special
make
meeting
a
tomorrow.
motion for a special session of the Muskegon County Board of Commissioners tomorrow at 4 p.m. to deal with the coronavirus.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more
I
discussion
love
needed?
that.
If not, all those in favor use the vote of saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And that motion passes. Commissioner Skolnick.
I think that Commissioner Hovey Wright is this business with the test kits. The director of the health department was here. The test kit is nothing. The test kit is just like the swabs and maybe a test tube or something. It has to be sent. It doesn't like
Yeah.
the swab. It doesn't
Well,
tell
but-
you whether you have the virus or
But
not.
this was from scientists that were I forget the guy's name. It's hard to pronounce.
But they really want a
was
kit that
really
says that.
focusing on that we need more test kits. And I don't frankly know what's in a test kit. Obviously a swab would be part of it, but I would assume some kind of material.
From what
kind
I've got through the
send it in.
research is that the test kits are really just that. They're just swabs, and the issue is the testing. So these things have to be sent in and they have to be tested correctly. And that's why those tests that Commissioner mentioned going to have to be done again or retested because the testing it's inconclusive. So you need to know whether a person is positive or not. And that's the biggest issue. Getting them tested with a swab is not a big issue. It's just the point of getting it done correctly so you know if the person actually has it or not.
Well, we need correct information on that issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Commissioner,
I would think the
Mahoney.
next piece of information from us is where do I go to get a test? Do I go to our health department? Do I call in ahead of time and say, I'm coming in because I got a disease? Can I get a test so they're not infecting everybody in the room? Those are kinds of bits of information we can put out quickly. Let folks know if they have symptoms, where they can go to get a test. You're right, Marcia, in terms of the testing ability, not necessarily the swabs or the kits. The testing ability is really strained. I think Michigan had a 300 possible testing abilities. Now, there are several corporations that are already coming up with a different test instead of CDC that are being approved by CDC to expand it to millions. But at this point, it's pretty limited.
Commissioner
Apparently
Larry.
have to get permission from your
Excuse me,
doctor
excuse
to
me.
be tested. Sorry.
Commissioner Larry.
So Kathy Moore presented to the board last week that Quest Diagnostics right here in Muskegon can run these tests. So the HHS in Michigan just received 1,350 test kits this week, but the potential for testing is available through private sources, and I think we got a letter from Blue Cross and Blue Shield that said that they'll pay for it. So anyways, there are testing available, but the test kits through the state or the federal government are limited, but we can still get testing done through Quest Diagnostics.
Any other discussion on this?
Just let you know real quick. I haven't verified this, but it looks like the Major League Baseball training has been canceled for the spring,
Right.
and Ohio State canceled their public schools for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I think most sports are probably going to be
NCAA
canceling
is
everything.
canceled.
Yeah.
And I did just receive an email from Michigan DHHS with some recommendations for businesses, workplace, schools, community organizations, healthcare institutions, and individual of all ages, backgrounds, and health profiles. It's quite lengthy, so I haven't had a chance to review it, but I will make sure it's at the meeting tomorrow morning and present it to you. I'll forward it to all of you.
Any other discussion? And just for what it's worth, I was talking to my daughter yesterday, who's she's been in research with the Duke University for a number of years now, and she's thinking that the best thing that we're going to get is a antibiotic that will help fight this thing. It won't be a cure, it won't be an antidote, but it will help. It's more like of a strong antibiotic to help fight the disease off. So that's probably going to be the first stage of the type of things that are going to be coming out, and they're hoping to have that within the next month or so. But she did say, she kind of confirmed what some of the experts were saying, it's going to be about a year to a year and a half before we really get an antidote for this. So yeah. Any other new business?
Did we vote?
We have to vote yet, I think.
Did we vote on it? I thought we voted on it. Okay, we're voting on the motion for the meeting, correct?
I didn't think we voted.
All right.
I don't think so.
All those in favor, use the vote of saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, and that motion passes. Any other new business? Any public comment? Anyone in the public would like to have a comment on the agenda item or any item?
Bob Lukens, Community Development Director. The park trucks are green, and we have 2 gray ones.
If not, any other public comment? If not, any board Commissioner Snyder.
I would just suggest that we have contact with Mercy Hospital and talk to the virologists at Mercy prior to tomorrow morning.
Any other final board comments? If not, I'll accept the motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Apart.
And we are adjourned.